Sometimes you come across these stories that just, they grab you, right? And they don't let go. That's exactly how I felt when I first heard about the really perplexing situation of Khadija Noor. Just picture it. August 2022, the India-Nepal border near Sitamarhi in Bihar. Not exactly a place you'd expect to be ground zero for this kind of drama. But it involves love, the law, international tensions, all thrown into this chaotic blender. We've managed to piece together the details of her journey, the legal mess she's in now, and honestly, it's got twists you just wouldn't expect. So our mission today is to really get into this extraordinary case, especially with everything that's happened recently, geopolitically speaking. We need to understand the incredibly difficult tightrope Khadijah's walking. It's way more than just a headline. It's a real rabbit hole.
It really is. And what strikes me is how something so personal, crossing a border basically for love, crashes right into the rigid machinery of legal systems. And of course, the volatile world of international relations. This isn't just about one person's choices anymore. It really shows how these huge global forces can impact a single human life.
Okay, so let's set the scene. August 22. Khadija Noor, she's 26, from Faisalabad in Pakistan. She makes this, let's call it a clandestine entry into India. Slips across from Nepal. This is at the Bitamor checkpost in Sitamarhi, Bihar. She wasn't by herself. Her partner, Saeed Ahmed, was with her, and another person too. This wasn't, waving flags at an official crossing. It was definitely trying to stay under the radar. And it didn't take long for the Sashastra Seema Ball, the SSB, the border guys, to spot them.
Exactly. I mean, any unauthorized crossing like that, it immediately sets off alarm bells for security agencies, doesn't it?
Right.
And when the SSB picked them up, the documents she had, well, that just made things even more concerning. Sure, she had her Pakistani passport, you'd expect that, but then there was this highly questionable Aadhaar card.
India's national ID, right?
Right. But it was in the name of Arzu Bagadia, supposedly from Telangana. Very strange. And add to that a Pakistani COVID vaccination certificate and her student ID from GC Women University in Faisalabad. That mix of documents, it screams attempt to bypass the normal immigration channels, which, from a security perspective, raises big questions, intentions, potential risks, all of it.
Questionable. Feels like putting it mildly. Her story was that she was a psychology student. Apparently, she got a Nepali tourist visa back in Islamabad, flew to Kathmandu via Dubai, no less.
It's a pretty roundabout way to travel, wouldn't you say?
Definitely not the direct route. So yeah, unsurprisingly, the SSB weren't buying it. The result, she's detained, and the whole thing ends up before the Sitamarhi court. You do have to admit, there's a certain boldness to it. Like a modern Romeo and Juliet, maybe. Crossing borders for love.
Perhaps, but with significantly higher legal stakes, I'd say.
Oh, definitely higher stakes.
It does speak volumes about, personal connections. But the legal and security side of things, you just can't ignore that. The weird documents sneaking across the border, that gave the authorities plenty of reason to be suspicious and start legal action.
And those legal proceedings, they took a turn I didn't really expect. Khadija actually got bail from the Patna court, but, and this is a huge but, it came with a condition that is, frankly, staggering. So she's released, but she has to report to the Sitamarhi court every single month until her trial is over.
Okay, wait. Report to Sitamarhi.
From where?
From Hyderabad. That's where she was living with Saeed. Sitamarhi in Bihar, Hyderabad in the south. They're about as far apart as you can get within India, practically. We're talking a 1,200-kilometer round trip every month.
Right.
Wow. Okay. That's an incredible burden, logistically, financially. Wow.
It is. It's an unbelievable commitment just to meet your bail conditions.
It really shows you the complexities, doesn't it? The court grants bail, acknowledging she's not convicted, but then imposes this condition. It clearly signals they want to keep tabs on her, make sure she stays put for the trial. But the practicality of it.
And incredibly, she was doing it, making that massive journey every month. Her and Saeed trying to build some semblance of a normal life in Hyderabad, always with this legal storm cloud hanging over them, probably just hoping it would all eventually resolve quietly. But then April 2025 happened, and the horrific terror attack in Pahalgam.
Yes, a truly terrible event.
Absolutely devastating. So many casualties, mostly tourists. And it was quickly blamed on extremist groups based in Pakistan. It's just such a stark, grim reminder of how fragile things are between the two countries.
And inevitably, moments like that, they lead to crackdowns, tighter borders, more suspicion towards anyone from, the other side. The Pahalgam attack was definitely a turning point. Huge repercussions, especially for the India-Pakistan relationship, which was already, let's face it, deeply strained. The scale of it, the loss of innocent lives, It understandably led to a very strong, very decisive response from the Indian government. You heard Prime Minister Modi's statements reflecting the national grief, but also a real firmness on tackling terrorism.
And the government's actions were immediate and really far-reaching. They completely changed the game for any Pakistani national in India. Suddenly, a total revocation of all visas issued to Pakistanis, period. Well, okay, there was a tiny exception for extreme medical emergencies, but basically all visas canceled.
Yeah.
Then, a 48-hour ultimatum, get out of the country.
48 hours, that's incredibly fast.
Right. And it didn't stop there. The government suspended the Indus Waters Treaty, shut down the Atari border crossing, kicked out Pakistani military attaches. The message was crystal clear and incredibly forceful.
These were significant diplomatic and security moves. It showed a major hardening of India's stance toward Pakistan after the attack, canceling visas, demanding departure. It put national security concerns front and center, absolutely unequivocally.
Now, this is where Khadija's situation, already incredibly complicated, just tips over into this impossible catch-22. Think about it. On one hand, she has a direct order from the Patna High Court, you must stay in India and report to Sitamarhi monthly. On the other hand, the Union government, the highest authority, issues a blanket order. All Pakistani nationals leave India within 48 hours. What is she supposed to do? It's an impossible position.
Exactly. She's trapped between two conflicting directives from different parts of the Indian state. It's irreconcilable. If she leaves India to follow the central government's order, she's disobeying the high court. That's contempt of court.
Which means more legal trouble.
Right.
Fines, maybe even jail.
Potentially, yes. Disobeying a court order is serious. But if she stays in India to follow the court's order, she's defying the central government's directive. And that carries its own set of consequences, its own penalties. There's no winning move here.
And this isn't just us speculating. The additional public prosecutor in Sitamarhi, a man named Rohit Kumar, he spelled it out. He said leaving means contempt of court, risking an arrest warrant. Staying means violating the central government's order. He even said authorities are actively seeking legal opinions, trying to figure out how to untangle this mess. It just hammers home how this big geopolitical flare-up has directly, massively amplified her personal legal nightmare.
It's a perfect illustration, really, these huge policy decisions made at the national, international level. They trickle down and create these incredibly challenging situations for individuals. Khadija's case started as, maybe a somewhat unusual border crossing for personal reasons now. Now it's completely tangled up in the massive, volatile story of India-Pakistan relations and national security anxieties.
It really makes you pause and think about the human side of it all, doesn't it? If you strip away the legal terms and the politics for a second, you just see this young woman. Whatever her reasons for crossing were initially, she's now stuck in this unbelievable legal and political vice. It does make you think, maybe briefly, of Seema Haider, another Pakistani woman who came via Nepal. Her case got huge media attention, though.
A very different trajectory, yes. Seema Haider actively sought the spotlight, talked about wanting to stay, integrate.
Right. Khadija seems to have kept a much lower profile, but her current situation feels even more, well, more precarious somehow.
I think both cases, though different, they really highlight the huge difficulties, the complexities of these cross-border relationships, especially now. The history between India and Pakistan is long and tense, and awful events like Pahalgam just deepen those divides. And India's response, even revoking SARC visas, which used to help some travel within South Asia, it just shows this hardening stance, and that directly impacts people like Khadija.
So, looking ahead, what are the possibilities for her? She's in such a bind. I suppose it's possible the court's order wins out. Maybe she has to stay until her trial is done, however long that takes.
That's one scenario, yes. The judiciary operates independently to an extent. Or the central government's deportation order could be enforced, despite the contempt issue. National security often takes precedence in these situations.
Or maybe. Maybe some kind of compromise between the court and the government. Is that even feasible?
It's possible. It would require some delicate negotiation, balancing the legal process with the government's security directive. Or, something completely unexpected could happen, some legal loophole, a diplomatic intervention. It's hard to predict when law and politics collide like this.
And Bihar, where this whole saga started, they're right in the thick of it following the Pahalgam attack. The state government there seems fully on board with the national push to identify and send back Pakistani nationals. We're hearing about specific orders going out to local officials. Find anyone with a Pakistani passport, arrange their departure.
Especially in Patna, the capital, reports suggest quite a few people, mostly women apparently, have been told to leave. Some might have been on long-term visas, even seeking citizenship, but the order seems broad.
And Khadija's trial, still pending in Sitamarhi, it just adds another layer of complication for the Bihar authorities trying to follow these orders, like trying to follow two contradictory sets of instructions at once.
Exactly. Bihar, being a border state, puts it on the front lines of implementing these policies anyway. But having Khadija's specific, ongoing court case within their jurisdiction adds this really unique twist. They're caught right in the middle of this conflict between the court and the central government policy.
So where does that leave Khadija today? Still in Hyderabad, apparently. Still making those incredibly tough monthly trips back to Sitamarhi for court. Her future. Just hanging completely in the balance, uncertain. Her story is just such a powerful example, isn't it? How one individual life can get caught up, just buffing it around by these huge forces, geopolitics, bureaucracy.
Absolutely. It makes you think about the real human cost when nations are in conflict. How easily a personal choice, a personal journey can get snarled up in the wires of international relations.
So what happens next for Khadija Noor? That's the question, isn't it? And right now, there are no easy answers. It's just a stark reminder of how unpredictable life can be when love, borders, and politics collide.